Community.
Hello, SpaceChain community. This is Z. We're in New York. We just finished up Consensus and also another awesome conference, Token Summit. Jeff was one of the keynote speakers there, and now we finished with the conference and we're ready to do this video you guys have been looking for.
And then after that, I'm going to go to sleep because I'm so tired. It's been a long conference, but a lot of great meetings.
Yeah. I think every day I had like a meeting per day.
Yeah. It was almost overload, but a lot of really impactful meetings. I think that last year was so crazy. This year, the people that stuck around through crypto winter, they built. They built interesting stuff.
Yeah, I think last year they were triple the people, but much less productive. Meeting a lot of like school purchase. Yeah. Anyway, so I have our marketing team collect some of the questions you guys are really interested, and so we're gonna address some of the we think is interesting to talk about, and we will also do some of our daily random space talk. Hopefully that we actually didn't prepare any like particular like agenda for the random talk part, but we'll see.
Yeah, we said a couple days ago, Z and I were talking, and we said we should just record one of these conversations that we have because we talk about so much stuff as it relates to space that you, the community, really need to hear some of it.
Okay, awesome. So I guess I will kick off with some of the question we collected. So first of all,
you're going to play the questioner, huh?
I would be the question and the answer.
Okay.
That's
not a double spend, is it?
Yeah. Hopefully not. That's the worst thing that happened. So yeah. First of all, so a lot of community are really curious because initially we began with Q10 satellite, Q10 integration. Then we talked a lot about Ethereum and Bitcoin, and some of the really core community member has been following our like tech development progress according to weekly reports.
Yeah, they should. Everyone should read that.
So they're asking, we have been doing a lot of Bitcoin instead of Ethereum. Like, what's the reason behind it? So I will do a little bit of like management CEO updates. Is that so? Our next mission will be primarily focused on supporting Bitcoin. Although we made a great progress with Ethereum, so we want to catch the deadline with our launch service provider, make sure the software is ready, because normally for those who are not familiar with the industry, you need to sell the software hardware way before the launch.
Months in advance.
Yes.
Many months in advance, sometimes years in advance.
Yeah, so we want to get that ready. So we doing a lot of Bitcoin, and at the same time, we love Ethereum. And we actually, one of the reasons we attend so many conferences is that we are interacting with multiple other blockchain projects, try to integrate them. And from a technical perspective, why we're doing so much integration, talking to so many different chains.
Yeah, well, the big point is, economically, you don't want to pick a winner. You don't want to say, Jeff Chain is the best chain in the world, then you miss out of all this other innovation. One of the key things about SpaceChain OS, the open source operating system that we published on GitHub many months ago, it's spacecraft qualified, it is flight tested, it's worked on our satellites in space, and that is a generic platform that you can, and we've tested Quantum on, we've tested Ethereum on, and now we're putting together a multi-sig wallet-related project as it relates to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And all of these chains are the chains that they have the most momentum behind them. They have the most technological progress behind them. And so you really want to prove, field test SpaceChain OS in space. Yeah. With each one of these blockchains. And so if we, I'm a big fan of Ethereum. Obviously our current token is the dual token model on Quantum and Ethereum. So obviously we're Ethereum fans. And we flight qualified Ethereum, but we don't want to just pick that one and only that one, because we also have other, like you just mentioned, blockchain partners and partnerships that we're talking to that we want also on the satellites as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're thinking. And also at this moment, we are still the only blockchain project putting hardwares and flight tested our code with our own hardware.
That's right.
In the industry. So we're really, really proud of that. And since you mentioned GitHub, we also get a question about basically these, we have a very, very interesting community member keep following our GitHub program, which is awesome.
Fantastic.
That's fantastic. So we keep getting challenged saying that we are not consistently updated. Instead, we update it periodically, and also often after a certain project is finished. So I will begin with a CU updates. Basically, the strategy behind it is that because we're working, it's a little bit more complicated than other open source software and a blockchain
Very much
project.
so.
They are very most of them only software based. So we actually need to do a lot of integration with the hardware. Also, we work with multi-jurisdiction partners. So it's very tricky for us if we open the software without other partners' permission, and there are also some of the government permission included. So like we shared, we are very transparent about the technical progress. We want to let your community know. We continue to do that. I think this is like the 10.8 AMA that we do.
That's right.
But at the same time, we want to put full respect to the partner we work with, because to guarantee the successful mission is the number one priority, and at the same time, we wish to be as transparent as possible. And I know you have some early experience.
Yeah, I have some history there, most definitely.
Yeah.
I like to say that I think I am the world's first. Designed the world's first open source satellite back in 2014, 2015, and maybe the community isn't familiar with all the I think a little bit crazy rules, at least here in the U.S., about how you take something open source to market. There's something called ITAR, I-T-A-R, which controls how you publish, how you export technology, either out of the United States or out of the EU or out of China. And not just SpaceChain, but SpaceChain's partners are governed by these commercial rules. And so it's a little bit silly, but when I built this open source satellite, it was completely public. No, military secrets, no government secrets. It was completely 100% off the shelf. But the approval process I had to go through, I had to talk with the U.S. Department of State, the U.S. Department of Commerce, and just to release something that's no secrets at all, completely public, completely off the shelf, a basic 3U CubeSat spacecraft. And if I had not gotten those permissions, legally speaking, and this is the crazy part, I would have been exporting weapons-grade munitions to other countries. Yeah, exactly. And so, the community probably doesn't know all of the rules that we have to comply with and that our partners have to comply with, because it's still you have frequencies, radio frequencies, that the FCC in the U.S., the ITU in Europe, China and Russia have to approve. When your satellite is orbiting over China or over the U.S., you have to have regulatory approval for that frequency in that particular world jurisdiction for your spacecraft to get launch permission. And that's what Zee was just talking about. You have to prepare months in advance. Paperwork, software, qualification testing, and that's not just us, that's our launch partners. They're packing the satellites into the rockets. And so then finally, there are always lawyers involved, and the lawyers have to put their stamp of approval on all of this as well before we can publish any of it to the open source community.
So that's actually very detailed. So although definitely I think from the outside we seem to be quieter, we are relatively low key, I would say, but we're really proud of the team. Has been it's all about delivery of what we want to build, and having 2 satellites within a year and a half. I'm really, really proud of our technical team, and I think it's kind of crazy. It is how the technical team is delivered, and it's this is really awesome. And actually, we have multiple satellites being booked, and is that we are signing contracts, so we can talk about that, but the details cannot be shared at this moment. But yeah, and we are continue going to do that, and gradually definitely want to make it as open source as possible, and let the community know more about it. So yeah, so since you mentioned about the early history of you and open source satellites, so a lot of people are curious about what's your as my co-founder CTO, what's your relationship with SpaceChain and app? Yeah.
Sure. So I'm definitely involved in a bunch of different projects. Going back in the Linux days, before I was an entrepreneur and a CEO and CTO and co-founder, I worked on about 10 different open source projects at the same time. Yeah. And you would put a lot of effort into one, then it'd get launched, then it'd have some maintenance costs and need some backfill, etc. But the point is there's so many ideas in the space and so many eager partners who are willing to step up and help build some new and interesting stuff. I really see it all as interplay. So Block is a blockchain services firm, and we actually have a business relationship with SpaceChain as well, that Block helps review, audit tokens, review, audit blockchains, blockchain services. So really being additive from that perspective. But that's, it's a nuanced, complex world. That's a separate project from Metronome, which is just and I frankly think it's awesome, an amazing currency.
I think it's awesome as well.
But that's a currency of money that we launched out of Block. And all of those are separate from my absolute passion for space. Yeah. And when Zee first read my blog post on Bitcoin Talk 2013, talking about satellites and space and this vision for space and blockchain, he said, you were telling me how that was inspired. And well, that's a 20-year history for me. I've been thinking about this stuff for decades. And when the opportunity came by to work with Zee, I had to say yes. And I was thrilled and honored to become a co-founder and CEO. So yeah, I'm absolutely, I work on a dozen different things. But I'm spending time in the office every week on SpaceChain, talking with commercial partners, helping with commercial deals, helping on the technology side to better shape our upcoming wallet project and some of the other projects that we talk about in the context of space. Yeah. For example, space and blockchain. I love to think about all these new business models, these new space businesses that tokenomics is going to unlock and open.
Yeah. And especially, I think Metronome, one of the interesting things is the mass pay system, which gives a lot of opportunity for low cost, like micro payments, like subscription based model, which potentially we are talking to some of the satellite data distributor. Like that's just super convenient because we try to solve it on Ethereum. The gas is always an issue and it's expensive. So yeah, like we were looking into it and talked to that. So yeah,
or pay for everyone in a constellation. Yeah. So the constellation that we're putting together through that decentralized satellite internet project. Yeah. What if you did a mass pay to 64 satellite owners all at once?
Yeah. So yeah, that's super interesting. Our engineers are already looking at it, and we will figure it out. So yeah. So what's the like a lifespan of our actual CubeSats and kind of like a roadmap and what's kind of like our thinking on that. So I will start. So our CubeSat really depends on what exactly the payload you can put on. CubeSat is like early days, it's just like, oh, this is the CubeSat, but now it gets so many variables, it becomes so different because you can put like multiple payloads on it. So our like CubeSats now, the design lifespan is about like 6 to 12 or 6 to 15 months. It depends on how it's put on, and it's mostly the two launches we made are for proof of technology. We want to continuously hit our technical milestone just to showcase to the community, our partner, oh, we're serious about delivery. It's like we promise we're gonna deliver in 6 months, and 9 months we're gonna launch and flight test the software. So that's all that is about. Our vision on this is that we want to build instead of like many other very centralized big corporation proposing the 72 or 1,000 satellite kind of constellations, we are working with multiple partners. We want to enable multiple companies to launch with our software. It's same one ecosystem, but with different companies all working together from all different world. That's why we're talking to so many partners and going to all the conferences around the world. And
I love talking about this subject. I'm chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I know.
When is he going to let me talk about decentralized internet?
Okay, I will just release the leash. Go ahead.
Yeah. This is probably what excites me the most about SpaceChain, and it's only possible, I think, through blockchain and tokenomics. Is rewind back to the foundation of the internet. Yeah. It wasn't just one project that was venture financed and one company built the internet. That wasn't how it happened. Yeah. It was standards and protocols that enabled a decentralized forest of a bunch of different vendors selling internet software, selling internet hardware like routers. And I think that's what's going to make space successful. Yeah. Is I love Elon to death. I'm a huge Elon Musk SpaceX fan. But with that said, I think that it's more of a decentralized approach to have multiple owners of multiple satellites, so that say you have a constellation of 72, maybe you have 10 owners or 20 owners, and all of those are in a mesh network, so that if 1, 2, 3 satellites fail, the constellation itself keeps going. And on the decentralized side, there's not one gatekeeper. You don't have to go through Jeff or Zee to get access to the network. It's truly decentralized, no single point of failure. And that's really what blockchain was all about. That's really what the failures in space, you need that decentralized mesh, that resilience of the network. And I think one company is not going to get it done. It needs to be, if blockchain has proven anything, a network of companies and partners.
So I think just to continue that topic, basically our current strategy is that the reason we are making the multi-sig wallet is that we want to make business sense from a blockchain and space perspective, and just showcase to our partners, okay, how to better utilize the space advantage to help with blockchain business.
Exactly.
And then I think it creates more motivation for other people to join network, because there's business motivation behind it, other than the traditional, remote sensing communication. And plus, another side of it is that because we interact with different developers, many people are like, I don't know anything about space, but I'm only a smart contract developer. So we want to utilize the application we built ourselves to showcase, okay, this is how it can be done. So so could you just give a little bit more introduction about how blockchain SANDBOX helps with building application on satellite, why it wasn't possible, then after this blockchain it became more open and having third party involved with the satellite application software being
Absolutely. So what is a SANDBOX, first of all, for the viewers, is every mobile phone has some technology inside that, say if you have the Uber app and you have the WeChat app, the SANDBOX guarantees that Uber can't steal information from WeChat, and WeChat can't steal information from Uber. So they, in the developer engineering term, they have their own little sandbox, each unique, their own little playground separate from everybody else. That's important from a security perspective in blockchain, because I don't want to have access to other people's keys, which has implications on fund safety, etc., and user security. So you want a sandbox. So why is that useful in space? So when I was looking at many years ago, the original conception of the space chain design, I looked originally at normal satellite software. It was single owner and single tenant. That means just one customer on there typically, and that was the easiest thing for them to secure. And that really limited the business models versus what blockchain added. Blockchain is secure by default. And every smart contract works just like apps on your phone. Is this smart contract has no way to access this other smart contract's data. They're firewalled away or sandboxed away. So I took that kernel of the idea and I said, wow, we could really change space and the space industry. Just use this blockchain software we already have, no changes, add it to SpaceChain OS. That lets us do this multi-tenant model where one satellite's customer is firewalled away from another satellite's customer. So you can have 10 customers on one satellite.
I remember that. I'm not technical myself, but I remember the early days of Android, iOS. If you opened up one app, you kind of need to close down, then you open another one.
That's right.
Then
that's right.
Advance it, and I think also another interesting comment would be because when I talk to different partners around the world, they were like hesitating because they were like, oh, this is something new. I don't know what's really behind it. We have been using the same thing for like 20 years. But then when I mentioned open source, they were like, oh, I will have our engineer to check on it. Then they just go on our GitHub. Oh, okay, this is actually solid. Then plus we tell them we flight test it. They were like, okay, we will give it a try. That's why we have like over 20 companies actually already signed up to test our platform by themselves.
Which is fantastic.
It's slow progress. I mean, space companies are relatively conservative, but we're very excited about the progress. So yeah, being open source, having that blockchain security layer, opens so many doors and for partnership because space companies
made businesses possible that weren't possible before.
Yeah. Space companies are conservative.
They're ultra conservative.
They're like, oh, you're not here for like 30 years. I'm not sure if you're legit.
That's right.
Okay, so
So hashtag new space.
New space. So just another thing is like actually I'm attending a space forum next week at Luxembourg. So we will have a whole conversation about like new space, how new space can be developed, plus commercial space, what's the new technology can be used other than, also application use cases other than remote sensing, GPS, communication. If you look at the current landscape, it's all about like this three, I think, main functionality. And the blockchain and also software-defined satellite has been like one of the upcoming like trendy topic.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think it's a major trend. What I see, and the reason why SpaceChain is even possible, is that the cost of rockets and launches is just falling through the floor. And 10, 20 years ago, we'd have to be $1 billion government to do what we're doing today. But now there's this new space race of startups like us that we can afford to get to space for less than $100 million. And that makes new business models possible, new businesses possible. And I'm just so excited to be in this is like the new Apollo era. It really is.
I also feel it's kind of like an interesting dynamic we're having because I attend a lot of blockchain conference and the space conferences. And it's very different, two very different like groups. But at the same time, they're all very futuristic. Like they're dreaming about like what's the future gonna be. So I think we're in the good. Like,
we're in the right place at the right time.
So another question will be kind of I will put it this way. So we are affiliated with Chamber of Digital Commerce. We are also a member of Ethereum Enterprise Association. We also are a member of Dom Tapscott's Blockchain Institute. So, like, what we can benefit on how our community can learn more about them and what the work they do, and what kind of the benefits we can get from them.
Sure. The Digital Chamber of Commerce is an excellent example. Those other two are great organizations. it's really a connector for SpaceChain. Is that a week doesn't go by when like the digital chamber reaches out to Zee and myself, and this delegation from this space agency is visiting Washington D.C. Why don't you meet up with them? And
awesome.
we engage with governments, we engage with commercial partners, big nations, micronations. And all of them are interested in space, and they all need sort of a central human networking point when they come visit Washington D.C. or Don Tapscott up in Toronto in Canada. And so that's a great way for SpaceChain to immediately get into the room with the decision makers of space.
Yeah. Also, I think another interesting thing they do is that they do a lot of education briefing to the government official and also big institutions. So we wish if they're so one of the target we want to reach to working with them is that if they ever talk about space in this blockchain, we'll be the go-to guy to you should have this guy or this guy.
That's right.
Teach or whatever, give you a workshop or something. So yeah, that's kind of the strategy. Same thing we did with satellite output in UK. They actually invited us to do this blockchain and a workshop, and we have like 50 awesome professionals from all.
Oh, it was a great workshop.
Yeah. So we wouldn't expect like Airbus or like European Space Agency, UK Space Agency people. They send people to listen to, just learn about it. Then they get feedback. They were like, oh, we want to open up new project. So that's really awesome experience.
Yeah, and they really see the potential for blockchain and the potential for tokenomics, cryptocurrency, and like you said, it's a slow engagement. The big governments, the big commercials, they move slowly. They're used to sort of in the U.S. the Apollo program is 20 years, many billions of dollars. That's what they're used to, and we're changing that narrative. Startups are coming in and disrupting the whole ecosystem, and they want to come along for the ride. They want that innovation.
Yeah. So we opened up our Europe office, which is based in UK, and we already engaged with multiple partners and institutions to, and also setting up the team, of course. So a lot of community members are curious how do we set up more presence in terms of the marketing or just in the industry in general in like Europe or Latin America, USA, what's kind of what kind of things we can do and we will be doing.
I think that like along the lines of the Digital Chamber of Commerce, getting connected into the key parties in various regions. So for example, we've engaged with an Indian potential launch path for one of the launches in the future, and that's just an example of there are a lot of governments out there that they're looking for people to take to space. The U.S., I was fortunate enough to go talk space policy at the White House with the National Space Council, the NSC, and they are very interested in the coming commercialization of space and how SpaceChain can start to plug into that. Similar story with the UK, similar story with ESA, and I really think that that sort of what I'll call enterprise marketing. It's not banging the drum for consumers. It's talking to big businesses, talking to government agencies, and those are really sort of the enterprise customers, the enterprise market that I think SpaceChain's message and marketing is really happening. I mean, we're sitting here at Consensus, and there are a ton of enterprise blockchain companies that we're going through these halls. This is sort of the core market that we like to talk to, the bigger enterprises.
Another big component of it is, I would say, in SpaceChain we do a lot of plan ahead. So instead we have to because it's like we need to book a launch in
a year in advance.
Yeah, at least if we can launch in a year, we're lucky.
That's right.
So we couldn't. So we're not. I think we're not one of the type company chase the trend. Oh, today this new technology happens. This is us. We redefine our mission. It didn't work like that, right? So we kind of like need to do a little prediction, see where the industry going. That's why early on we believe the space and the blockchain is the thing. We want to make it happen. And 2 years later, we are still our only company, I think, launch anything.
That's right.
A lot of companies looking, a lot of them testing, but we're the only thing. So, but that's because we plan way ahead. And I think for the community perspective, I understand that people say, oh, this new decentralized finance is happening, this AI thing is happening, can we do something about it? I mean, like, we actually talk about it so frequently, but we don't want to change our mission because this is the thing we think is valuable for us, it's our specialty sets, and we want to do it. And then there's another conversation I had with Matt is that I think in blockchain, you see people changing faces, changing projects so often, telling different story every 3 months, trying to either raise funding or like whatever.
Yep.
Although I think from our perspective is that although we do have some challenges, like we like a lot of people challenge us, a lot of people question us, but we want to tell the same story. We want to share.
We've
the
been
same
very
mission.
consistent.
We just been we just been delivered, and it's not like crypto winter we're not doing anything. Like that's not us. That's
just like everyone else, we were building.
Yeah.
We were building software, we were building hardware, we were prepping launches. On the AI side, of course, you trigger me there.
Yeah.
I love to talk about AI. Is another one of the projects that I work on. This is a very distant future type project. Is if we assume that a number of tokens are in existence, they're going to control various resources. It's kind of a logical extension to say these tokens, they need to be managed, and there's going to be an artificial intelligence or an AI component to managing those tokens, also managing those space resources. And so if you imagine a constellation of 72 satellites orbiting in low Earth orbit in Leo, you're going to need to maintenance that constellation. You're going to replace satellites, etc. And AI can predict when a satellite needs servicing. And so there are a lot of entry points for AI, not only on the DeFi side, and I could talk another hour just on DeFi and space,
I love DeFi,
but AI is very applicable to what we're doing, I think, in the next 12 to 24 months. It's kind of a challenge to immediately apply it to a problem. You have to observe how the market develops and then apply it.
I think so I totally agree, and I think when we started, the apps on blockchain was the biggest thing.
It was.
And I think the original, like, kind of one of the concept for us, our SpaceChain OS is supporting multiple D apps.
Yep.
But when we built it, then we were like, wait, the D apps, you guys are not doing a great job on your own thing. So we kind of want to wait a little bit and build our own application, which is already working, functioning, multi-sig. I think one of the most important feature in like blockchain transactions, like to have the security layer for either your custody or like our kind of transaction. So we kind of want to do that. So again, it's not about following the latest trend. It's about I think
what's the best for the customer,
the outcome as well. It's like, whatever the components you put together, it sounds the most fancy story ever, all the tags, all the like buzzwords, but it didn't work.
That's right. That's right. That's my core philosophy in a nutshell right there. Is what is the outcome? Is the outcome a simple user experience, something that the business or the customer can safely transact with? And frankly, blockchain needs a little bit of work in that area. And we're at SpaceChain, at Block, etc. We're constantly improving, but we love the community feedback as well.
I think we should. By the way, so a very key community feedback is that they wish you can retweet a lot more SpaceChain stuff. And I don't know. Tweet represents your own opinion, but probably do that.
I mean, with the standard disclaimer that my Twitter is full of crazy stuff sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm here talking with Z on a weekly, if not daily basis, and we're pushing SpaceChain forward. So absolutely, let's tweet about it.
Let's tweet more about it. We hear you. We marketing wise, we do a lot of enterprise marketing, do a lot of conferences, but we hear all.
Yeah, people that tweets don't necessarily reach. It's like the 50-year-old space company.
Yeah, we do so many emails and
way too many emails.
And but we hear you. We'll do more of that. And I think any other things we should address? I'm going to Luxembourg. I'll be in Singapore. Luxembourg is Space Forum, Singapore. Then I'm going to Space Tide as also another speaker talking about blockchain space. So in Japan. So we're reaching out to Luxembourg, Japan. So we're doing like some of that. Just my schedule like that. I know you are busy. You are.
Yeah, I wish we could talk about more. There's so much that we can't talk about until it actually happens.
Yeah.
There's more space. More launches in the near future.
Yeah,
so
like
exciting.
multiple launches.
Yep.
We can say that.
Yeah.
Can we say that?
Yeah. Well, we just said it.
Okay. Multiple launches already booked, so we can talk about it. But details are.
That's right.
Cannot. We need to work.
The lawyers will yell at us.
Yeah, but multiple launches.
That's right.
Yeah. I think that's that. Final remarks being. So I think this is a new format we're trying. Do a little vlog and interview, not like super serious, but like more casual talk. I think it would be interesting for the community to see us continuing.
Absolutely.
Our opinion kind of changes as well. We're learning every day. We should do this more, and every time, not every time maybe, but like time we meet up, we should do a little 30
I think the community will like that.
Yeah. I would like that as well.
All right, cool.